The month of March in the year 2019 marks 36 years after the assassination of one of the unsung heroes of Malawi and Africa at large, a progressive scholar, political leader by the name of Dr Attati Mpakati.
Mpakati was a champion of the liberation for democracy and multipartyism.
One of the greatest heroes of Malawi when we talk about the fight for justice, the fight for human rights, the fight for democratization in Malawi.
The fight against Dr. Banda and what he represented was a protracted struggle.
In the wake of the cabinet crisis of 1964, soon after the dismissals and resignations of ministers from the cabinet, the then Prime Minister, Dr Kamuzu Banda, summoned an emergency sitting of Parliament in the capital city of Zomba. The agenda of the session was to debate a motion of confidence in Dr Kamuzu Banda as Prime Minister, following an earlier open challenge against his policies by the ex-ministers. The parliamentary session ran from the 8th to the 9th of September 1964. During this session, Dr Kamuzu Banda received an overwhelming vote of confidence, scoring a massive political victory against whom he would later call the rebel ministers. These were Yatuta Kisiza, Masauko Chipembere, Orton Chira, Kanyama Chiume, Augustine Bwanausi, Wile Chokani, and Rose Chiwambo, who was deputy minister. This emergency session of Parliament was followed by unrest and clashes between supporters of the ex-ministers and the Malawi Young Pioneers, MYP, in the capital city of Zomba and other parts of the country. Blamed for the unrest, the rebel ministers and their sympathizers were hunted down like rabid dogs by the youth leaguers and MYP cadres. As such, they had to flee for their lives to Tanzania, Zambia, and beyond.
Upon independence and thereafter, a realization by the people was to the effect that Dr. Banda was deviating from what the people were fighting for by way of independence.
Well, basically, the quarrel started over the way Dr. Banda runs the government. I think you know that he's a dictator, he's very arrogant, and wants to do things his own way without consulting others. He has said publicly that he, for instance, and he alone, makes all the decisions. By making decisions on his own, he also intends to set himself up as a dictator.
And gradually, the regime became dictatorial and oppressive to the extent that a number of leading politicians had to flee the country into exile.
Most of these political detainees came from the cabinet crisis of 1964. Others have been detained because the police are investigating their cases. They haven't finished investigation. You can't turn a man loose when the police are investigating.
Years thereafter, that's when the formation of parties, including Socialist League of Malawi, that is Lesoma, came into being.
It was founded in 1974 by the likes of Kapote Mwakasungura, who became its first Secretary General, with Dr Attati Mpakati as its first chairman. The first executive committee of Lesoma had George Kanyanya as vice chair for Zambia, Frank Gia, Jomo Chikwakwa, Gray Kamuyambeni, Mundu Mwambetania, and others. Lesoma soon became the most vibrant opposition political party, which had managed to secretly recruit its members across Malawi, including employees in the civil service and the University of Malawi.
Chipani chimene chigulu limeneli la Lesoma litapangidwa pansi pa utsogoleri wa Attati Mpakati ndi pamene tinayamba kupitiriza kugwira ntchito, kuthamanga, kupita maiko osiyanasiyana, kulankhula nawo, ngakhale kulembera ku OAU pa nthawi imeneyo, magulu osiyanasiyana ndithu amene ifeyo ndiye anayamba kutizindikira, anayamba kutilola kumapita ku ma meetings yawo, mwinanso m'madera mwina mmene amalephera kuyita ana boma ya Malawi, mwinanso kumene Malawi pa nthawi imene imalephera kupita, timapitako ndife, amatiyitana. Atati Mpakati ndiye amene amapita makayankha, mwinanso kutumiza delegation kumene.
Lesoma printed over 1,500 copies of a political journal called Kuchanso, containing the evils of Dr. Banda's regime. This journal was hidden in maize sacks and smuggled into Malawi through trucks delivering maize to Malawi. This angered Dr. Banda, and he improved his efforts at destroying Lesoma and its leadership.
Attati Mpakati was the most hated person because of his effectiveness. Dr. Banda could not sleep. He started now using some oppressive and cruel means of eliminating people.
Anyone in Dar es Salaam or Lusaka who think he can come here and take over the government is playing with fire, literally playing with fire. As a matter of fact, he will be meat for the crocodile in Songwe River.
Nkhanza za boma limeneli zimaonekera, anayamba kutumiza mabomu ama makalata kumatumizira ku post office, kumapanga zinthu zina, kapenanso mwinanso wena kumene kumachita ngati kwatumizira kumene zinthu zoti kuti zitha kwachita poison, mwina akangotsekula envelope ija utsi achite chipongwe. Zimenezo zimachitika. Ndiye February 1979 bomu imene akuti pachizungu amati letter bomb anatumizira Attati Mpakati ku Mozambique. Imeneyo inaphulikira, kwaononga pamimba ponsepa, kwaononga dzala. Imeneyi inali njira imodzi ya nkhanza yakupha imene Dr. Banda amachita.
In an open letter to Dr. Kamuzu Banda after his failed assassination attempt, Dr. Attati Mpakati told Dr. Kamuzu Banda that it was a waste of time spending the country's resources and taxpayers' money trying to kill him. He believed he would die, but his ideals would live on, and his shared dream of democracy and justice for Malawi would be realized.
Sana sire bokabo, Attati Mpakati atavulala, iwo anaona ngati kuti njira ayipeza tsopano. Ngakhale ina amene amatumiza amene maleta bombs, panafika poti kuti kumene ndimakhalako ku Zambiako kundiletsa kuti nsamakatenge somero ndekha, amakanditengera ndiyena, koma zimapezeka kuti kukatenga mero ija akapeza kuti muli zophulika. Zimenezo zidandiponya. 24 March 1983 Attati Mpakati anamtsatira ku Zimbabwe ndikukamphera kumene kumunjira zimene iwo adapanga, konko kumtenga mugalimoto nkukamponya mtauni kuti adzikhala ngati kapena kuti inu kaya wagundidwa ndi galimoto kaya wapangidwa chani, koma kumene anampherako ndi kwina, kumene adakamponyako ndi kwina.
On the fateful day, Dr. Attati Mpakati flew from Maputo and landed at Harare International Airport. From Harare International Airport, Dr. Attati Mpakati checked into Park Lane Hotel at Corner Enterprise Road, Samora Machel Avenue in central Harare. On the next morning, the room service knocked on the door to Dr. Attati Mpakati's room. There was no response. When they opened the door, they found that the room had not been slept in. They reported the matter to management. Dr. Mpakati was nowhere to be seen. The police arrived, and conducted a search using sniffer dogs and traced the trail to the Harare Gardens, where traces of blood were discovered. The sniffer dogs led the police back to a street opposite the hotel. Along Enterprise Road, the body of Dr. Attati Mpakati was found, lying in a ditch. Dr. Attati Mpakati had fallen into a carefully laid out trap. According to the post-mortem report, Dr. Attati Mpakati had died of gunshot wounds. He was shot at point-blank range, execution style. One bullet through the forehead, 2 bullets through the chest. Finally, Dr. Kamuzu Banda's agents had succeeded.
Anthu amenewo ndi otumidwa opangidwa haya ndi boma la Malawi pa nthawi imeneyo la Dr. Banda.
Dr. Attati Mpakati was buried at Warren Hills Cemetery, grave number 337 East, in Harare after an Islamic burial ceremony presided over by Sheikh Bogdadi of Malawi.
Iwowo cholinga chawo amaganiza kuti akapha Attati Mpakati amene akutsogolera gulu limene likuonesa kuti limenelo ndiye limene likuchita zakupya, basi ino ndi athana nazo. Sizinatere pamenepo. Mwazi wa Dr. Attati Mpakati unakhala ngati kapena kuti ndiye mafuta fuel kuyatsa moto tsopano kuti zinthu ziyake ndi zinayakadi.
Dr. Attati Mpakati was born in Chilazuru district in Malawi. By 1974, he had already obtained a PhD in economics and was one of the few highly educated Africans and experts in the field of economics. Dr. Attati Mpakati was a charismatic leader, courageous and determined to free the people of Malawi from the yoke of the Dr. Banda and his Malawi Congress Party Dictatorship, the Bandastan, as Dr. Attati Mpakati used to call it. He led by example and sent so many youths to school abroad so that they can better themselves and the nation of Malawi. Dr. Attati Mpakati remains an unsung hero.